Chosen one, take a breath and slow down for a moment. What you're hearing right now isn't random, and it isn't coincidence. You were guided here. Something in your spirit was pulled toward this message long before you pressed play. God has been preparing this moment quietly, patiently, and intentionally. There comes a time when heaven decides to lift the veil from a person's life. And that time for you is now. You've sensed it in your heart lately. You felt a subtle stirring, a shift you couldn't explain. Something has been pulling at your thoughts and tugging at your spirit. It wasn't anxiety. It wasn't imagination. It was God setting the stage for what he is about to reveal. This message is not an ordinary encouragement or a simple reminder. It's a release of something that has been held back for a long time. For months, maybe even years, you've been asking questions that seem to hang in the air with no reply. You've wondered why certain things happened the way they did. Why you felt isolated. Why you faced certain battles repeatedly. Why you were pushed into seasons that didn't seem fair or clear. What you didn't know was that heaven had your life under divine review. God has been watching the way you handled the storms that tried to drown you. He saw the moments you stayed faithful when everything in your life was shaking. He noticed the times you prayed through pain and pushed forward even when you felt empty. None of that went unnoticed. Every whisper, every cry, every lonely moment was seen. And now God is saying, it's time. Time for answers. Time for clarity. Time for the truth that explains everything you've been walking through. This isn't going to be a soft message. It won't be watered down. This is going to be real, honest, and direct. God isn't revealing this to scare you or overwhelm you. He's revealing it because you're ready. Your spirit is stronger now. Your mind is clearer. Your heart is more mature. The version of you today can handle what the earlier version of you could not. Before we move deeper, pause for a moment. If this message is hitting your spirit, acknowledge it. Engage with it. Let heaven know you're listening. When you stand in agreement with the truth God is speaking, you open the door for him to show you even more. And chosen one, he has more to show you, much more. You've only stepped into the doorway of revelation. The room you're about to enter holds answers you've waited years to understand. Chosen one, there's something you need to understand about your path. You didn't have a normal journey because you don't carry a normal calling. The weight you felt throughout your life wasn't a punishment. It was proof. Proof that heaven marked you long before you knew what that meant. Proof that your life carries influence in the spiritual realm. Proof that you were set apart for something that requires strength, patience, and spiritual depth. You've walked through things that people around you never had to face. You handled responsibilities earlier than others. You carried emotional loads that should have crushed you. You went through storms that didn't make sense. You kept pushing even when you felt drained. And at times you wondered, why me? Why does everything feel so heavy? The truth is simple. You were being shaped, and shaping never feels gentle. Some seasons in your life pulled you so far out of your comfort zone that you felt like you were being stretched beyond your limit. You went through delays that tested your patience. You faced attacks that seemed unfair. You dealt with people who betrayed you or misunderstood you. You experienced moments where you felt left out, overlooked, or pushed aside. But every piece of your journey had a purpose. Nothing happened by accident. While you thought life was breaking you, God was actually building you. While you assumed doors were closing because you weren't good enough, God was closing them because they weren't meant to hold the future version of you. When you were crying out for answers and nothing seemed to change, God was working behind the scenes, rearranging things you couldn't see. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. There's something different about people who carry divine assignments. They don't get easy paths. They don't get comfortable lessons. They don't get predictable lives. Their training is tough because their calling is big. And whether you've realized it or not, everything you've walked through was training. Your spirit grew stronger in moments when you thought you were weak. Your discernment sharpened in seasons when people tried to deceive you. Your faith deepened when life pushed you to your knees. The reason your life has been intense is because God needed you to be ready. Ready for influence. Ready for spiritual responsibility. ready to carry revelation, ready to walk into doors that require a certain level of maturity and awareness. In a world where many people crumble under pressure, chosen ones are built in it. That's why your process was different. God couldn't let you stay soft or unprepared. He needed to forge something unshakable inside you. And chosen one, that inner strength is about to be used. Heaven didn't train you for nothing. Chosen one, there's something you've overlooked in your story. While you were focused on what didn't work out, what fell apart, what left your life, and what didn't make sense, you didn't realize how much danger God was blocking behind the scenes. You noticed the losses, but you didn't see the traps that never reached you. You felt the delays, but you didn't see the destruction that God prevented by slowing things down. You experienced rejection, but you didn't see the spiritual attacks that were aimed at your life but never landed. You saw the surface. He saw the battlefield. There were moments when you felt like God was distant, but the truth is, he was never closer. He was stepping between you and things that were designed to destroy your peace, your future, and even your identity. Some connections never formed because those people carried intentions that would have harmed you. Some doors stayed shut because entering them would have pulled you off your path. Some opportunities disappeared because they weren't actually blessings. They were distractions wrapped in excitement. What looked like God ignoring you was God shielding you. There were people who smiled in your face but carried envy behind their words. God saw the motives you couldn't see. There were relationships you wanted to work out, but God knew they would drain your spirit and steal your focus. There were environments where your soul would have been poisoned slowly, without you realizing it, and God made sure you didn't stay there long enough to be damaged. Some things that felt unfair were actually divine rescue missions. You thought you were isolated because you lacked support, but God isolated you to protect your vision. You thought you were alone because no one cared, but God pulled certain people away because their presence would have suffocated the version of you he was creating. You thought you were falling behind, but God was rerouting you away from collisions you never knew were coming. Many of the attacks you felt emotionally were only a fraction of what the enemy planned. God stopped the rest. When you couldn't sleep, when you felt a sudden heaviness, when your spirit felt unsettled without knowing why, those were moments when heaven was fighting on your behalf. Angels weren't just watching you. They were assigned to you. They stood between you and things that would have derailed your purpose. And here's the deeper truth. Your calling made you a target. Your growth made you a threat. Your destiny made you valuable. This is why the enemy tried to access you early. He wanted to shape you before God could strengthen you. But he failed. Every tactic failed. You're still standing because God covered you even when you didn't understand what was happening. And chosen one, this protection wasn't random. It was preparing the way for something bigger. Chosen one, it's time to face something you've sensed your whole life but never fully understood. You were never meant to blend in. You weren't created to move the same way everyone else moves. You weren't designed to think, feel, or grow the way the crowd does. And no matter how hard you tried to fit into certain circles, something inside you always felt out of place. From a young age, you probably noticed that you didn't connect with people the way others did. You felt things more deeply. You questioned things others ignored. You saw through situations while others took everything at face value. Even when you wanted to be like everyone else, something in your spirit kept pulling you in another direction. It wasn't insecurity. It wasn't awkwardness. It was divine distinction. God wired you differently because your assignment requires a different kind of awareness. You've always carried a sense of depth, sensitivity, or intuition that others didn't understand. People may have misunderstood you, judged you, or labeled you as too intense, too emotional, or too quiet, but what they didn't realize is that your spirit was responding to things their spirit couldn't detect. You weren't made for shallow spaces. You weren't made for spiritual noise. You weren't made to be molded by people around you. Every time you tried to blend in, something inside you felt heavy or uncomfortable. You could be in a room full of people and still feel spiritually separate. You could be surrounded by friends and still sense God tugging you away from certain environments. And when relationships ended or groups drifted away, you felt confused. You wondered if it was your fault. But it wasn't rejection. It was redirection. When God chooses someone, He protects their spirit by creating a sense of discomfort in places that don't match their calling. You weren't supposed to stay in circles that lacked vision. You weren't meant to attach yourself to people who couldn't grow with you. If you had fit in easily, you would have settled in places that would have limited your destiny. The loneliness you felt wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The separation you experienced wasn't accidental. It was strategic. God needed you to be set apart long before you understood why. He needed you to develop your identity without being shaped by the influence of people who didn't carry the same spirit. He needed your ears to stay sensitive, your heart to stay open, and your discernment to stay sharp. Chosen one, you're different because your purpose is different. Your spirit is built for things that require maturity, clarity, and spiritual stamina. The world you're called to impact cannot be reached by someone who blends in. Your difference is your proof. Chosen one, you've probably wondered why your battles felt heavier than what others around you seemed to go through. You've questioned why certain situations kept repeating. You've asked yourself why negativity seemed to target you, even when you were trying to do right, stay focused, or grow. What you didn't realize is that your attacks were never random. They were strategic. You carry something in your spirit that threatens darkness. Even before you knew who you were, the enemy knew. He saw the potential in you long before you discovered it. He saw the strength you didn't know you had. He saw the calling on your life that you were still unaware of. And he recognized that once you stepped into your purpose, you would become dangerous to anything that operates in confusion, fear, or deception. That's why the attack started early. Look back at your life. You faced pressure at moments when you were still learning how to handle your emotions. You faced betrayal before you even understood how to process pain. You dealt with rejection at an age when most people were still discovering themselves. The enemy wanted to break your spirit before your identity could form. If he could distort how you saw yourself, he could limit how far you would rise. But every attack had the opposite effect. Instead of breaking you, it built you. Instead of stopping you, it sharpened you. The seasons that felt personal were actually meant to stop your potential. The enemy didn't care about your circumstances. He cared about your destiny. The heaviness you felt wasn't because you were weak, but because you were important. The very areas of your life that were attacked the most are often the same areas where God intends to use you powerfully. If your heart was wounded early, it's because you're called to heal others. If your voice was silenced, it's because your words carry power. If your confidence was attacked, it's because you're meant to lead. If your faith was tested, it's because you're meant to move mountains. The enemy studies potential. He watches patterns. He tries to disrupt purpose before it matures. But chosen one, he underestimated you. He didn't expect you to rise above the pain. He didn't expect you to survive what was designed to break you. He didn't expect you to grow stronger after every setback. He didn't expect your spirit to awaken. And now that you're stepping into clarity, the enemy's fear has grown. Why? Because a chosen one who finally understands themselves becomes unstoppable. A chosen one who sees the truth becomes a weapon. A chosen one who recognizes their calling can shift atmospheres and break generational cycles. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you're chosen. Chosen one, you may not realize it, but you're standing closer to a major shift than you think. Your life has been going through a lot of unusual changes lately. Some things have felt out of place. Some moments felt heavier than normal. Some days felt emotionally unpredictable. And if you've been wondering what all this means, here's the truth. These are signs that something big is forming in the spirit. Before God brings a breakthrough, everything around you starts to shift. Your spirit can feel it before your mind understands it. Lately, you may have felt a sense of restlessness, like you're outgrowing your old environments. You may feel disconnected from things that once felt familiar. The conversations you used to tolerate now feel draining. The people you once tried to impress no longer hold space in your mind. This isn't you changing for no reason. It's your spirit preparing for a new chapter. When God is elevating you, He disconnects you from what can't go with you. Another sign is the pressure you've been feeling. Not all pressure is negative. Sometimes pressure is the indicator that heaven is rearranging your path. When you feel stretched, challenged, or pushed into growth, it's often because God is preparing space for something bigger. The discomfort you feel is not a sign that things are falling apart. It's a sign that things are being rebuilt. You may also notice that certain people are drifting away. Conversations fade, connections weaken, and doors close without explanation. This used to hurt you, but now it feels strangely natural. That's a sign of spiritual alignment. God is removing anything that would block your next level. He is clearing out people who would drain your strength or limit your vision. You're not losing people, you're losing weight. Another major sign is increased spiritual sensitivity. You've been noticing things quicker. Your intuition feels stronger. Your dreams have been more vivid. You pick up on energy that you ignored before. This isn't by accident. When God is preparing a breakthrough, He sharpens your discernment so you can see what's ahead more clearly. You may also feel like time is moving quickly around you. Days slip by faster. Opportunities show up unexpectedly. Ideas come to you suddenly. This acceleration is a sign that your season is shifting. You don't feel stuck the way you used to. Instead, you feel like something is pushing you forward, even if you can't fully describe it. And finally, you might notice an inner calm beneath all the chaos. Even in tough moments, there's a quiet part of you that knows something good is coming. That peace is a signal from heaven. It's God whispering, "Hold on. You're closer than you think." These signs aren't random. They're confirmation. Your life is moving toward breakthrough territory. Chosen one, you've reached a point in your life where God can finally reveal something He has been holding back for a long time. You've grown. You've matured. Your spirit has been stretched, refined, and strengthened. And because of that growth, your vision is clearer now. Your ears are sharper. Your heart is more open. You're finally ready to understand the truth about why you were chosen in the first place. Your calling isn't small. It was never meant to be. You weren't brought into this world just to survive or get through each day. You weren't created to repeat the patterns you witnessed growing up. You weren't chosen just to carry pain, battle darkness, or endure attacks. All those experiences were shaping you for something deeper, something that will influence people in ways you haven't even imagined. Your calling is connected to impact. There's something about the way you move, the way you speak, the way you think, and the way you love that carries weight. People are drawn to you without understanding why. They come to you for advice. They trust you with their struggles. They feel safe around you. This has been happening for years, and you didn't realize it was part of your purpose. You carry an atmosphere around you. Where you go, things shift. This is why certain people reacted to you with jealousy. Your spirit exposed their insecurity. This is why some people tried to silence you. Your voice carried truth they couldn't handle. This is why you made others uncomfortable without saying a word. Your presence revealed what they were trying to hide. You were never meant to live a quiet spiritual life. You were created to awaken others. Your calling involves leadership, even if you don't see yourself as a leader yet. It involves influence, even if you've doubted your worth. It involves healing, even if you've been broken. It involves clarity, even if you had seasons of confusion. Everything that hurt you is now fuel for what you're meant to do. Everything that tried to break you is now part of your power. Everything that felt like a setback is now part of your assignment. God didn't choose you because you were perfect. He chose you because you were willing. He chose you because you have a heart that can carry responsibility without becoming hardened. He chose you because you can walk through darkness and still bring light. He chose you because you can lift others even when you're fighting your own battles. Your calling is bigger than a job, a role, or a title. It's a spiritual assignment. You are meant to shift atmospheres, inspire change, uncover truth, and break cycles. You are meant to walk in authority and become the person others look to when their world feels uncertain. And the more you grow into your identity, the more powerful your influence becomes. Chosen one, God is preparing to elevate you in ways that will surprise even you. You're not stepping into a small season. You're stepping into the purpose you were born for. Chosen one, there's something you need to hear right now. Many of the doors that closed in your life, the relationships, the opportunities, the paths you wanted to follow, weren't failures. They weren't signs that you weren't good enough, smart enough, or ready. Every ending was deliberate, carefully orchestrated by God to make space for what He was preparing to bring into your life. Think about the times you felt disappointed, left out, or overlooked. Those moments hurt. They made you question yourself, your faith, and your path. But here's the truth. Those endings weren't about punishment. They were about protection. God was keeping you from situations that could have slowed down your rise, hurt your spirit, or diverted you from your destiny. Sometimes the hardest lessons come wrapped in closed doors. Sometimes the bitterest separations hide the sweetest blessings. Every time you experienced rejection, it wasn't the world saying no to you. It was heaven saying, not yet. You're not ready for this. I have something better. When relationships ended, it wasn't to leave you alone. It was to preserve your peace, your identity, and your purpose. Every time you felt left behind, God was actually pushing you forward. You may have wondered why some people left when you thought they would stay. Why some opportunities slipped through your fingers when you believed they were yours. Why some dreams seemed to stall just when you were gaining momentum. These moments were testing your patience, your trust, and your understanding of divine timing. They were also making room for alignment. They were preparing your spirit for bigger things than you could have handled at the time. What you're stepping into now is the result of those divine openings. The doors that closed are clearing the way for doors that will open fully and permanently. The spaces left behind are now ready to be filled with what matches your calling. And the beauty of this process is that God is always intentional. Nothing happens randomly in your life when it comes to His plan. Even the losses, the delays, and the setbacks are part of a larger strategy, designed to position you for your next level. You weren't just enduring life, you were being built for it. You weren't just surviving, you were being refined. Chosen one, take this to heart. The chapters that ended abruptly were preparing your spirit for elevation. The people who exited were making room for alliances that will empower you. The opportunities that slipped away were redirecting you to paths that will accelerate your purpose. Everything you thought was an ending is actually a setup for a new beginning. Chosen one, you've journeyed through pressure, attacks, delays, and endings. But now it's time to see the full picture. God has been orchestrating everything in your life to prepare you for a season of divine alignment, clarity, and breakthrough. What you endured was never wasted. What you survived was never random. Every step, every tear, every battle was molding you into the person you were always meant to become. Here's the ultimate truth. You are not defined by your past, your failures, or your circumstances. You are defined by God's purpose for your life. The wounds you've carried were never meant to limit you. They were meant to equip you. The storms you walked through were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to strengthen you. The delays you faced were never meant to frustrate you. They were meant to train you. Everything has been preparing you for this exact moment. You are chosen. You are called. You are anointed. God sees your potential, even when you can't see it yourself. He knows the power resting within you. He knows the light you carry will influence lives far beyond your understanding. And now, He is aligning your spirit, your path, and your destiny to match that calling. The season of confusion, delay, and struggle is ending. A season of clarity, acceleration, and divine fulfillment is beginning. Your future is not fragile. Your future is not uncertain. Your future is fully protected and fully orchestrated by God. Look at the pieces of your life that seemed broken. They're being restored. Look at the areas where you felt overlooked. They're being elevated. Look at the moments that left you questioning. God is giving you understanding. Everything that once felt heavy, confusing, or impossible is now becoming fuel for your rise. Your breakthrough is not a maybe. It is a divine certainty. And this is why you can step forward with confidence. The spiritual resistance you faced was never a sign of defeat. It was proof that you were marked for greatness. The pressure you endured was never a punishment. It was prophetic confirmation. God's hand never left you for a single moment. Every closed door, every lost opportunity, every painful ending was part of a strategic plan to position you for the glory He has prepared. Chosen one, the final truth is simple but powerful. You are stepping into your divine identity. You are stepping into your purpose. You are stepping into your breakthrough. You are stepping into a season where everything aligns. The pieces, the doors, the opportunities, and the people who are meant to support you. Heaven is moving in your favor. God is elevating you to heights that reflect who He created you to be. Stand tall. Lift your head. Walk with boldness. Your story is shifting. Your path is clearing. Your breakthrough is here. The anointed version of you, the strong, wise, healed, and courageous version, is now emerging. This is not just survival. This is destiny fulfilled. This is clarity replacing confusion. This is alignment replacing delay. This is power replacing pain. This is your season, chosen one. Don't scroll away. Your journey isn't over. Everything you've been through was the setup for a life-changing release. Stay in faith, stay in alignment, and watch as God moves in ways you've only dreamed of. Your next chapter is bigger than you imagine.